YIAGA Africa statistical analysis shows that the Accord Party should receive between 50.3% and 54.0% of the votes cast. The Africa Democratic Congress, the ADC, should receive between 1.4% and 2.1% of the votes, and the APC, the All Progressive Congress, the APC, should receive between 43.0% and 46.8% of the votes. The PRVT statistical analysis is based on the number of registered voters and not the number of PVCs collected. INEC's official results for the 2026 Osun State Governorship election are consistent with YIAGA Africa's watching the vote estimate, as they fall within YIAGA Africa's estimated range. This indicates that the official results, as announced, reflect the ballots counted at polling units. However, widespread reports of vote buying and voter inducement raise serious concerns about the integrity of voter choice and the extent to which the outcome reflected the free will of the electorate. Had the results been significantly altered at the ward, local government, or state coalition centers, the official figure would have fallen outside YIAGA Africa's watching the vote estimated range. The consistency of the results, therefore, speaks specifically to the accuracy of the tabulation of the polling unit results. The voter turnout. YIAGA Africa watching the vote PRVT estimates voter turnout to be between 42.5% and 44.8%, while INEC's official turnout figure announced at the State Coalition Center is 43%. INEC's official turnout figures therefore falls within YIAGA Africa's confidence interval. The test citizens passed. The resilience of voters in Osun was the quiet achievement of the August 15th elections. Citizens went to the polls in an environment shaped by the attack on PVC collection centers, politically linked violence, contestations over motor parks, and weeks of inflammatory rhetorics. Conditions that YIAGA Africa warned could suppress voter participation. Despite this tension, voters came out regardless. The turnout of 43% achieved under that apprehension is not a story of apathy, but of citizens who refuse to be intimidated out of the process. This is highly commendable. Voters also did not stop at casting the ballot. In line with YIAGA Africa's pre-election Protect Your Vote campaign, they stayed back at polling units to witness the sorting, counting, and announcement of results, and followed those results to ward and local government coalition centers to see them entered and declared. That vigilance is the most effective deterrent to result manipulation. It does not, however, relieve INEC and the security agencies of their duty to protect the vote. Citizens should not have to stand guard over an institution's integrity for whatever reason. IREV reclaims its place as an electoral game changer. In the Osun election, IREV reasserted its importance as a game changer in Nigeria's election results management. The electronic transmission and publication of polling unit results strengthened transparency, provided an additional safeguard against manipulation, and enabled citizens to independently scrutinize the results process. Independent audit mechanisms such as YIAGA Africa's PRVT and ERAD 2.0 further deepened this transparency by providing evidence-based verification from the polling unit through the results portal. However, IREV performance was not without concerns. From 8:48 p.m. to 10 p.m., uploads stalled at 3,292 polling unit results, leaving 471 outstanding before transmission resumed at approximately 11:50 p.m. This prolonged interruption requires a clearer explanation from INEC. Sustaining public confidence in IREV requires not only timely and complete uploads, but also proactive disclosure, whenever delays occur. Security agencies largely demonstrated restraint. Election security was another major pre-election concern. The campaign period was characterized by violence, inflammatory rhetoric, and apprehension about the neutrality of security agents. Against that background, the generally professional conduct of security personnel on election day deserves acknowledgement and commendation. The election demonstrated that robust security deployment need not translate into excessive interference in the electoral process. This standard must be sustained. The real measure of security neutrality is consistency across elections, regardless of which political party controls the state or federal government, must be maintained. What this means for 2027, Osun demonstrates that INEC can meet a high operational standard, apply the Electoral Act 2026 as amended, and transmit results transparently when the election is well-resourced and closely watched. That performance now has to be reproduced across 176,000 polling units and 36 states in 2027, without the concentration of attention and resources of a single state that a single state election attracts. The task for INEC is therefore to convert the lessons from Osun into institutional standards. That means strengthening quality assurance for sensitive materials, resolving inconsistencies in voter data, standardizing implementation of downloadable PVCs and other provisions of the Electoral Act 2026, improving the resilience and transparency of the IREV, and institutionalizing prompt public communication whenever technological or operational failures occur. For security agencies, the challenge is to sustain neutrality while significantly strengthening enforcement against vote buying, intimidation, and electoral violence. Recommendations by YIAGA Africa. YIAGA Africa commends the good people of Osun State for their resilience and commitment by turning out en masse to vote in the election, and therefore encourage them to sustain this beyond the elections by holding political parties and candidates accountable for their campaigns' promises. Based on our findings, we recommend the following things. 1, INEC should conduct a comprehensive post-election technical audit of the BEVERS devices to identify the causes of the failures that we witnessed and strengthen device testing, maintenance, and rapid technical support to minimize disruptions to voter accreditation ahead of the 2027 general election. 2, the police should publish a report on its deployment in Osun elections, especially providing information on the number of arrests made and plan for prosecution. This is important in ensuring perpetrators of violence that led to the death of citizens in the pre-election phase are properly prosecuted, and this will serve as a deterrent for future elections. Thirdly, political parties should deepen their commitment to democratic values by investing in the systematic training of their polling agents on the provisions of the Electoral Act 2026 and INEC's regulations and guidelines and voter education ahead of the 2027 general elections. Fourthly, security agencies, the EFCC and ICPC, should extend enforcement beyond the polling unit precinct or to the surrounding spaces where inducement now takes place, and should arrest and prosecute offenders, including party financiers and their agents. YIAGA Africa will release a comprehensive report in due course with additional data and recommendations for diverse stakeholders as it commences its national deployment for the 2027 general election. We want to, at this juncture, thank the European Union for the support, including members of the Election Observation Hub. YIAGA Africa's Watching the Vote is driven by data for all Nigerians and beholden to none. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. That is our final statement. And at this point, we would like to take questions from members of the press, if any. Thank you.
You just saw live pictures there of the YIAGA Africa and other civil society organizations holding a press conference on the elections in Osun State, which, of course, saw Governor Ademola Adeleke of the Accord Party winning the election. Moving on, indeed, it's talking about Governor Ademola Adeleke. Well, he has given his reaction to his election victory following the official declaration of results by INEC. Flanked by family, supporters and well-wishers, he described his success at the polls not just as a win for the people, but a victory for democracy.
I, Professor Joshua Laleko Ogunwole, hereby certify that I am the returning officer for the 2026 Osun State governorship election held on the 15th day of August 2026. The election was contested. The candidates received the following votes: Adeleke Ademola Jackson Nuruddin, Party A, 511,067, 511,067. Olarewaju Fariloye, AA, 2,308, 2,308. Esan Olajide AAC, 1458, 1,458. Salam Najim Folashayo, ADC, 17180, 17,180. Adiagbo Opawoye Yemisi, ADP, 2946, 2,946. Oyebamiji Bola, AP.